Hi all, good evening. On behalf of QPI AI and IIC, I welcome you all for QPI AI's roadmap to start your career with AI and ML. So this webinar is to guide the students and the working professionals who are not fully aware of how to start with AI and ML. Pave you through different how AI has evolved, AML, what are the scopes there, and how you can start your career in that area. So that's what this webinar is all about. And we have tied up, we are QPI AI, and we have tied up along with IISc Bangalore for a course, and we'll be introducing about that as well by the end of this webinar. So I think all of you can see my screen. So QPI AI is one of the subsidiaries of QPI Technology, a parent company. We are based out of Bangalore, and we are a deep tech company working with different verticals. So we have QPI AI, which is into AI ML. We have QPI Cloud, which is deep into cloud computing based stuff, and SuperQ is into superconductivity and quantum research as well. And QPI Volta, which research on energy and molecular discovery using AI. And we have QPI Semi as well, which is into semiconductors exclusively for security purpose as well. So we have different verticals, and QPI AI is a company which also develops different platforms for deployment into deploying AI and using different machine learning modules and such. And we felt introducing a lot of students about the potential of AI ML will be a great value add, and we have introduced something called QPI Explorer, and we will be able to help you, pave you a path through which you can explore more about machine learning and AI. So I welcome our first guest, Mr. Sachin Kumar, to take over. He is from NIT Trichy. He has delivered AI and solutions for across different verticals like retail, cybersecurity, finance, etc. And he's also leading the QPI AI Pro platform in our company. So over to you, Sachin, to help us through. Thank you.
Sure, Suman. Thanks for the generous introduction and welcome everybody to this webinar. Let me just share my screen and we will go ahead with. Okay. Just a minute. I'm just facing a minor challenge in sharing my screen. Just a moment. I will
Sachin,
request
if you want, I
everybody
can
is
help you with the
patient.
screen. I'll help you
Okay.
with the screen.
Well,
Yeah.
sure, sure, sure. Sure, Sumant.
Yes. You can proceed, Sachin. Yes.
Yes, yes. So welcome everybody to this webinar. I'm so excited to have everybody here. And especially I see very keen people who want to learn and understand what is more where do they really get started around AI. I mean, you see AI being used as a commodity term these days. AI is everywhere. Almost every industry is leveraging it or has plans of leveraging it in the future, right? So I briefly wanted to touch upon how AI as a field has evolved over the years and looking at the trends, understanding what are the key skills that one needs to know before they jump into the field of AI, okay? And also understand the key trends of this field so that they're better prepared to work in this area. Let's get started with the evolution. Yeah, so we can move on to the next slide. So you see the main the real possibilities of AI. It has been made possible through the trifecta of these three things, which is large data, enormous compute power, and algorithms. So you see, the algorithms that we say talk as AI, so these encompass large and variety of different algorithms, starting from a very simple linear regression model which is actually a very simple statistical inference algorithm, right? And that was invented way back in the 1900s. In fact, one of the earliest papers, research papers, date back to the year 1898. It's early 1900s, right? And then there has been systematic improvements and research over time, and then we see we have lot much more improved algorithms that have been discovered over the ages, right? And then if you also see the very basic fundamental building block of uh, a part of AI, which is called as deep learning. It would date back to 1958, where the first idea of a perceptron was actually invented, which was supposed to mimic the workings of a neuron in a typical human brain or any vertebrate's brain in that matter for that matter. So you see, the algorithms have existed over many years. It's been more than 100 years since we have the first simple basic algorithm existing, and it's been more than 50 or 70 years since we had the basic building blocks of a deep neural network uh, 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 based algorithms being laid out. But what's exciting here is that these algorithms have been refined over the years. Okay. But at the same time, aside from algorithms, we have had the introduction of large compute power. In the last specifically 20, 30 years, you see with the help of Moore's law that the number of semiconductors on a chip has doubled every 18 months, and that has led to this exponential rise in the compute power, and especially with the help of new age compute devices like GPUs, it has increased further. So you see, we have algorithms that have been refined over the years. We have the advent of a very powerful uh, device like GPU, which helps in computing on data sets, okay, which is also now available in large quantities, right? So what's happening now is that any UPI transaction that you make, or any such transaction or likes or anything that you do on your social media platforms, all of that is logged, right? And all of this data, the large availability of this logged data is actually very helpful for these enterprises to help you recommend better products to you in the future, right? So you see, it's the trifecta of availability of large data because of the large scale digitization, the kind of applications we are interacting with. All of these applications collect large quantities of logged data of users and their interests. And then with the compute power, along with algorithms, we have this perfect trifecta, which helps us, design algorithms and improve them, right? Which helps us make predictions for the future, which will, to a great extent, hold true, right? That is the promise of AI. And you see, AI is being applied across different areas, right? You see that large data has been a fairly recent phenomena post digitization. Even the compute power has been a fairly recent phenomena, the last 30 years. The algorithms have sort of existed for the last 100 years, for that matter, and they have been refined over and over again. But what has led to this, field of AI, just rise very rapidly in the last 8 to 10 years, specifically, especially after the year 2012, where Google first introduced the paper of GoogleNet. There were also earlier algorithms named AlexNet, which was introduced in the year 2012, which actually led to massive interest in AI because of the capabilities that AI introduced, right? Which is that if you have enough large quantities of data, and if you have the right kind of algorithms, and you know how to design your algorithms well, given that you have large quantities of data and enough compute power, you could actually design and train an AI ML model in such a way that it could predict very well for the task that you initially intended to predict well. And this is the promise of AI. Okay? So more on this as we go ahead. So let's move to the next slide. Yeah. And so, the potential of AI and ML is immense. 86% of CEOs are saying that AI is already a mainstream technology in their office. And the demand for the AI, people who have this AI ML skills is growing exponentially. It's going very rapidly because companies are identifying newer areas where this AI ML skill could be applied, and they are identifying newer problems which were sort of like earlier unsolvable without massive quantities of data, right? Which can now be solved with AI ML. So it's opening up a completely new kind of economy where people are exploring and figuring out new ways of solving the same problem, or maybe attacking a new problem altogether. Yeah, we can move on to the next slide. But the major hurdle to this, the company is realizing this AI ML dream is really the lack of skilled workforce, people who understand AI ML and can really place their understanding of AI ML and then solve the core problem, attack the core problem with the right skills of mathematics, programming, and a mix of AI ML techniques, right? So that is where the problem is, that there is an immense demand for people with AIML skills, but the supply is fairly limited, right? And that is where we thought that we as Cupa AI could help upskill people, who have where across industries where we see this kind of mismatch in demand and supply, we could come in and really help people get upskilled in AI ML. And the main, reason for us doing this is that we have strong experience in delivering these kinds of AI ML solutions. Now, in my previous companies, I've worked across finance, retail, cybersecurity. These are the three different areas. What I found uniquely different in when approaching an AI, a particular problem in a particular domain, is that even though the problem at the surface level looks very different, but if you try to break it down further into smaller and smaller steps, then you realize that to a great extent, you can fit an AI ML solution uh, to attack that subproblem, which in turn leads to a cohesive solution, and that can actually help deliver great business value at the end, right? But also, what we figured is that with experience, I could quite relate to the core ideas here. The real goal of solving a problem is not just understanding theoretical skills, or maybe delving into some of the very niche areas which are fairly theoretical but actually do not work very well in practice, right? But then there are certain techniques in AI/ML also, right, which is overlooked by, say, someone who is a pure theoretician, who works just on theoretical problems, but at the same time does not really delve deeper into the practical problems that one faces, right? Because at the end, AI/ML is a way to solve a problem, right? And that is where we felt that we as practitioners, we have people, Cupa AI and other subsidiary companies who have vast experience in AI, ML, and even quantum computing, you know and that is where we felt that we could perhaps bridge this market gap by creating a very interesting curriculum, right? Where people can understand at the end that not just they understand the formulas, the mathematics behind AI ML theoretically, but they also have developed enough problem solving and those thinking capabilities to really break down, understand the problem, break it down, and then solve it iteratively. And that is the promise that with which we are moving ahead. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So you see the industry statistics speak for themselves. There are 13 crore plus AI jobs which will be created by 2025. The median salary for AI professionals is 14.7 LPA, and people have been reporting up to 25% hike in an average salary for data scientists, right? So these are some just clear metrics which say that upskilling and understanding AI ML in general will lead to people being equipped to solve and take up these industrial challenges in a far better and broader sense than, say, just having traditional ideas of programming and mathematics, right? Because what you have now is that there are these electronic devices which are capturing this data, and this data is actually very useful for organizations, right? to help them make better decisions, right? And also help them capture this kind of business value across domains. So now that I told you about, the main motivation that how AI is expanding very rapidly, the companies have large quantities of data, right? And of course, on the research side, we've seen lots of advances on the algorithms front, right? And the third part, which is that we see new age hardware coming up to help solve problems with the help of leveraging these advances in the algorithms, right? Let's understand how the journey of learning AI/ML really begins. Okay, and for that we'll move on to the next slide. So, broadly, these are the major concepts that one would have to, move on, in a step-by-step manner. And once you master each one of these, right, you'd be in a good position to apply these AI solutions to multitude of different problems, right? So the first part is prerequisites for AI and ML. And needless, I don't need to tell this to people who have already been, exposed to some of the AI ML algorithms. But one of the fundamental requirements of each of these algorithms is mathematics. Linear algebra, probability, statistics, and optimization. Right. So, in fact, mathematics happens to be the language of all of these algorithms that we will learn. As part of AI ML curriculum. Right. And then you move on to data science. Now, data science is a very broad field that encompasses the idea that you collect data set, you try to, do a lot of cleaning, slicing, and dicing of data set, understanding the various different patterns, and you essentially try to uncover these patterns, right? Now, with these uncovered patterns, you would want to help an organization or your team make better predictions, right? And you make better predictions with the help of techniques like machine learning and deep learning. Now, as I said, machine learning is a group of classical techniques, right? Where the goal is that you need not really let you need not explicitly write a code for a particular task. You try to learn or you try to understand the underlying features or the trends in the data set, okay, by learning from the data itself. That is broadly machine learning, right? Then after 2012, we after the advent of deep learning, specifically around 2012, when Alex Krizhevsky presented his paper on AlexNet, which could demonstrate very clearly that it vastly improved the image classification task. That it could vastly improve the accuracy of image classification algorithms, right? That's when the field of deep learning really kicked in, and you see deep learning is widely being applied across industries, especially for vision, language processing tasks, and even in your self-driving cars, right, when it is trying to understand the scene or the place where the car is, and based on that is it is making decisions time and time again, as it like every second what is the right step to take. And that is where the idea of reinforcement learning comes in. Reinforcement learning is uniquely different from machine learning and deep learning in the sense that, say, machine learning is making a prediction once, right? Given a certain data points, this is the prediction. Similarly, for deep learning, you give an image and then it helps you classify what is the class of that image, right? But reinforcement learning is different in the sense that reinforcement learning, sorry, I hear some background noise. Okay. So in reinforcement learning, the goal really is that there is an agent which has to learn, the right kind of action to take in different scenarios, right? And based on, say, you take an action at the current time step, and then based on this, the environment in which this particular intelligent agent is interacting, that environment also undergoes some change. Next, in the next hour, the agent again has to change, make a decision, right, based on this changed environment. So what's happening very differently in reinforcement learning is that not just you're given some data points and you have to make one prediction at one point, but the agent or the individual which is participating in an environmental process, right? That agent takes a decision. Based on that, the environment also undergoes a change, right? So it's more like a dynamic interaction between an agent and the environment, right? Where this the kind of action that an agent takes also has an impact on how the environment evolves, and based on that the agent has to learn time and time again. You see examples of reinforcement learning in a typical self-driving car, right? So you can imagine a self-driving car moving on a straight road, whereas say at places where it has to take turns, or say imagine a place where the self-driving car has gotten itself into a position where it is very close. If it does not reduce its speed, it is very close to meet an accident, right? And then it has to concurrently change its actions so that it can really avoid accidents or any major mishap, right? So that is a case of reinforcement learning. And then, once you've mastered each one of these different areas, right, right from the broad data science, machine learning for making predictions, deep learning for making predictions based on very large data sets, right? Deep learning also involves the concept of, the fundamental building block of deep learning algorithms is neurons. Okay, now these neurons are inspired from the neurons present in our brains, in human brains, right? And the real discovery of neurons dates back to as early as 1958, where scientists, especially at MIT, developed this idea of single layer perceptron. You see, that's how things have evolved. The algorithms and the ideas around how we should make this kind of efficient decision, right? That has evolved with time. And so you have these broad areas. And finally, once you understand each one of these different areas, the underlying mathematics, the data science aspect, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, you're good to apply a mixture of these different techniques into your final application or your final solution for a particular problem, right? Yes. So we can move on to the next thing. Uh, now, the fundamental idea, as I said, right, the fundamental challenge also for anyone who's learning AI and ML for the first time is also the mathematical foundations, right? So you see, these are all the formulas that you're going to observe when you start delving deeper into the different algorithms, right? So I told you, right, the foundations of artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to be mathematics, right? And we are going to talk the language of mathematics all the time. Now, unfortunately, that's been the case with most of the people I've seen and I've encountered, is that most people actually struggle with the underlying mathematical foundations. Maybe because they did not pay enough attention when they were in high school, or maybe when they went to university, they lost track of mathematics and they were not so keenly following mathematics, right? But once they really delve deeper into the algorithms and are very curious and are very excited about learning these algorithms and applying them to real world problems, this is where they are stuck, right? Because they cannot quite read these different formulas. And if this looks like Greek and Latin to you, please don't be bothered at this point. Okay? We have an excellent solution, and we are really going to help you with all of this mathematical foundations, right? So the core mathematical foundations, as you will see in the next slide, please, is going to be linear algebra, probability and statistics, and calculus and optimization. Right? So these are going to be the three primary prerequisites that one really has to know well and also master so that they are in a good position to really understand the algorithm that has been developed by a researcher, understand the core ideas of mathematics, and understand the fundamental concepts of mathematics, right? Ideas, right? And based on the problem, they comes which were actually suggested by a researcher, right? It's around linear algebra, probability, and statistical courses that one learns if they are taking an under science, technology, engineering, mathematics. First introductory course in these, we go deeper into certain algorithms, this in depth, right? And this is where we requisites right from the start, right from the very basics and the very basics of optimization with the help of calculus, right? So that people understand the mathematics behind these algorithms. They can really read those mathematical formulas, as you had seen in the previous slide, right? And they can relate back the different they can really relate the semantics of the formulas, right, back to the problem that they are trying to solve, right? So that is the real benefit that you will get when you take up the the kind of well curated course curriculum that we have created, and that will be explained in detail by my colleague Lakshya next. So can we move on to the next slide? So just briefly discussing about the industries and common use cases. So you see in healthcare, healthcare has greater potential, right from identifying, what kind of disease an individual might have. So we often see, AI being useful in helping radiologists diagnose whether it is a chest cancer or not. We see that from the X-ray reports that a patient gets, right? AI recently has been known to outperform a regular radiologist, in the hospitals, and to a great extent, AI at this point, with the current technology and the current state of the art, can greatly help augment the decision of the doctor who's taking a final call about a certain disease for his or her patient. Right. Finance has again wide scope for use of artificial intelligence and machine learning, right from high frequency trading to trying to predict the key contributors towards the stock price rise or fall. Then again, you see in finance, if you go to a bank to ask for credit, you see that banks try to analyze whether you're credit worthy or not, again with the help of a machine learning based algorithm, right? So these are very common examples of use case of machine learning in finance, right? The banks specifically, even your credit card, companies would want to prevent frauds on your credit card, and they would want to flag these kind of frauds early. So there's a common use of fraud prevention techniques to prevent these credit card frauds. Transport is again a vast field where machine learning and AI is being used to find the most optimal path, you know, from any 2 points when they are trying to transport, say, goods and services. And you see that happen. It's a NP hard problem, but to a great extent, for a specific problem in transport, we have seen AI ML solutions being deployed. And I think if you want to understand more around this, I again have my colleague Lakshya who will explain you more around here. Retail, you see the kind of uh, products that you interact with on your social media or based on the transactions that you do on UPI, all of this data is being used. And then based on that, you're being recommended better products, which suit your taste and your needs, right? So there's an AI behind it called recommendation systems or recommendation engine, right? Which is recommending you better products. Either you go on Amazon.com or any of your favorite e-commerce websites, right? Manufacturing, again, AI is being used to a great extent there, where you have things like trying to make better and a safer, production line floor for the factory workers, right? So if, say, a factory worker is drowsy and say if that factory worker is working on something very important, right, it can be identified very clearly. Now, there are a lot of interesting areas of manufacturing also. Say, when you have a steel making plant, right? We can have examples of vision processing, which we have, in fact, we are already working on, as part of our various initiatives in artificial intelligence, where we are trying to identify if the quality of steel is good or bad. Then there are various different, applications again around computer vision, which helps you identify what is the different grade of coal that is being used in the furnace to prepare steel, right? Or maybe the quality of the steel that is produced or the quality of coal that is being fed into for the process of production of steel. Now, insurance research marketing, again, they want to identify the different, the persona of individuals who are taking up these insurance, and based on that, they would want to price the premiums, right, for taking up a new insurance plan. depending on the the how good a customer is to take up this kind of insurance plan based on their maybe comorbidities related to health, or maybe depending on their general lifestyle, and how they deal with different kinds of issues in their personal lives. And of course, marketing, as I said, marketing plus retail is a very common example for artificial intelligence, right? So that is where I would rest my discussion here. And then moving on to the next slide, I'll also briefly talk about our solution approach to artificial intelligence. So this is actually how it works on one of our Auto ML plus MLOps platform named Cupa AI Pro, where we build, which is in fact an end-to-end platform for ingesting in these raw data sets and then helping them convert into AI ML models, which can actually deliver great business values. Right? You see, we have the first part is around knowledge discovery. We take in the enterprise data, we map it to domains and subdomains, and based on these domains and subdomains, we try to identify some of the key features and patterns within the data sets. Right? And then we prepare the data, we identify some of the key patterns and trends in the data sets. Based on that, we pass it through the model discovery engine, which has a vast multitude of machine learning, deep learning, and even advanced algorithms where we try to learn newer architectures for these deep learning models. And based on this, we generate a model, or in fact, groups of different models, also called as model ensemble here. And finally, we deploy this trained model or generated model onto maybe a cloud as a cloud service, or on a very low powered edge device which sits right next to the place where the data is being generated, right? And then we also not just deploy this model and help make real time predictions, but also monitor the quality of predictions that are being made by this model, right? And if there is any deviation in the quality of predictions that is being made by this model, we try to course correct for those, right? So this is at a brief level, how we as a company have prepared our own Auto ML, which is automatically discovering the right kind of model, automatically training and fine tuning the right kind of model. That's why it's called Auto ML. And ML Ops. ML Ops is a generic term for machine learning operations, right? And that includes generating a model and then deploying it across different devices, right? And then monitoring the performance of those predictions, right, which is being made by this trained machine learning model. So that's why it's called ML Ops, which is machine learning operations post deployment, right? So that's where I'll stop, and I will pass it on to my colleague Lakshya, who will explain you more about how you can get started with us.
Thanks a lot, Sachin. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining in. And I would just like to share my own screen. So, Sumant, do I have the permission to share screen?
Hey, Lakshya, yes, yes, you can share your screen now.
Okay. So, can you confirm if my screen is visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. So, thanks a lot, Sachin, for explaining in detail about the generic landscape of AI and machine learning and what are the best ways that we can actually get into the depths of machine learning and AI. Uh, that was more about the design of the courses, how we have structured the courses, which I'll get into the details of. First of all, I'll focus on the delivery of the courses, how we can actually convert these ideas of algorithms and the experimentations into something tangible which you yourself can experience and experiment with using an interactive learning tool that we call as CuPy AI Explorer. So we have made this tool with the aim of making machine learning, AI, and also quantum computing very accessible and easy to start with. First of all, I'll introduce you to the Explorer environment by giving you a brief small demo about the tool. Then we'll look into the details of the curriculum themselves, what are the topics and the subtopics that we are following. Then we'll see some of the characteristics of the courses, such as how the segments have been created, how we have quizzes and assignments that support the lectures, and also test your competence and the amount of learning that you have imbibed. And finally, we'll see some of the other salient features of this overall learning environment, such as discussion forums and multiple other facilities that are embedded within the tool itself. Finally, I'll also show you a quick sneak peek into quantum computing as well. So let us get started. So this set of joint certification courses, which are different courses spanning across the fundamentals of AI, which is the AI beginner. Then we have AI expert and AI pro, and also courses in quantum expert and quantum basics and then quantum expert. So these courses are taken by some of the finest faculties that we have in the domain expertise of AI and quantum computing, along with the practitioners' expertise that we bring in ourselves, such as Sachin and many of my other colleagues who are actually working on very hard problems that are not so easy to solve in terms of scale and in terms of the quality of solutions. So we come up with this experience of how we are facing the challenges in industry, how we are processing this vast amount of data, how we are inventing newer algorithms, and how we are actually converting those algorithms into solutions that are then deployed across various industries and various use cases at scale. So scale is very important here. And the whole idea of problem solving is connected to how we can scale up that solution with the best performance. So just a brief introduction about the professors. We have Professor Shaila Bhatnagar, which is a professor at the Department of Computer Science and Automation at ISC Bengaluru. He is one of the key pioneers of reinforcement learning in India and also across the globe. We have Dr. Nagendra, who is a PhD in wireless systems and artificial intelligence from Coventry University. We have Professor Ujjwal Sen, who is one of the key leading theoreticians of quantum computing around the globe. We have Dr. Madhu, Dr. Baladitya, and Dr. Vibhor, who are also some of the key experimentalists that are working in India. And then we have Dr. Amlan for QPI AI, working on quantum research and also AI research. So now coming on to the design, the delivery of the courses, how we have structured the courses and how you as a student will follow up with these courses. So first of all, we have very neatly and very strategically curated study materials, picking out the essential, cutting out everything that is not needed, and really picking out the core of the subject that is needed to understand the larger concepts of the field. We have assignments and projects that iteratively help you in upskilling your own competence for the field. We have some aspects of practical learning that involves building a projects and also doing programming assignments. We have live interactions within the courses, one-to-one interaction, doubt clearing sessions with the instructors, and also we have a very live and vibrant discussion forum where all the students can interact within themselves and also with the instructors to have their doubts cleared, or they can also create threads where they can extend on certain topics that they feel that are important. So these are the courses, particularly since this is for AI. We have firstly the course AI Foundation, which has 28 hours of learning material. This broadly covers the prerequisites for artificial intelligence and machine learning. It also starts with some central concepts in deep learning and also covers some of the parts in reinforcement learning. AI Expert is a much more evolved and a much more in-depth course that covers everything that is taught in AI Foundation, but also covers some of the advanced topics in deep learning and reinforcement learning that are closer to the applicability part. And it also covers some of the latest state-of-the-art research that is done in the field. The third course that you see, AI Pro, covers everything that is offered in AI Expert, but it also allows you to interact with our MLOps and AutoML tool, which is Cupa AI Pro, where you yourself can build models and experiment with very large data sets where the compute is running on a cloud platform. So essentially, you have everything in the course, plus you have cloud computing technology to actually test your models and see how they can scale up. So these are the courses, these are the different courses that we are offering. And now I will start with the description of the course curriculum. And the way we have structured this entire course is, firstly, we have a set of prerequisites. Then we incrementally build on those set of prerequisites to cover some of the basic grounds in the field of machine learning and AI. And once we have consolidated the basics for all those parts, we actually move into some of the advanced topics and also some of the very advanced applications that are actually being tested and being implemented across various solutions, starting from the level of an individual to the level of almost everyone on the planet. So the next step that we are doing is to first of all get ourselves acquainted with the Explorer environment and then see the details of the courses. So as you see now, I have changed my screen and I am logged into Cupa AI Explorer, which is a standalone tool to build AI models and build quantum computing models. And also we offer the course, entire courses within this tool. This is in the form of a downloadable, and you can also access these courses from a website, from our website. So I'll explain briefly about the tool itself. So here we have, if you see, we have bifurcated all the topics into the bucket of quantum computing and automated AI and machine learning. We also have a bit of favorite section here, which makes it quite easy and accessible to pin our important subjects and important topics that we can readily access. So first of all, we'll move to automated AI and machine learning. We have a set of tutorials that are in the form of different articles that we have curated. Now, as Sachin was talking about automated machine learning, so these are the few segments of automated machine learning that we actually have here. First is data preparation, then we have generate AI model, and then we have predict AI model. So the typical workflow of an AI solution is that we gather large amounts of data, we clean that data, and then we try to learn from that data by using learning algorithms. Typically, there are many learning algorithms that we try out, and finally, we see for our particular use case and for whatever metric that we define, what is the best performing algorithm. Once we have the trained model, we use that AI model to actually make predictions on newer examples or newer cases that we refer to as test cases and see how our model is performing. We continually improve the model and then finally it is deployed wherever we want to build the solution on the top of model. So the first section here is data preparation. Now, as you can see, there are multiple modalities for this data. Within the tool itself, you can build models on image data type, video data type, audio, tabular data sets, as well as textual data. So we offer different modalities of data that you can process, you can prepare. Here you can select whichever file of your dataset exists, and then you can prepare the data for actually training it on certain algorithm. This part of generate AI model, it here again, you can embed certain statistics about the model itself. You can have some identifying factors, and then you can define the metrics and the target metric that you want to achieve. You can also provide some other timing information as to when, how long you want to train this model. And within all those set of constraints, the tool will find the best uh, model that you can generate from that limited data set. And finally, you can make, once you have a trained model, you can select that model and you can use it to make predictions on certain other sets of data. So the whole exercise about this automated AI and ML is because, as you already know, you would be familiar with more and more aggressive use of no code and low code coming up. And in today's world, the key competency for AI and ML practitioners is not only to implement algorithms or to program certain algorithms, but an end-to-end approach about how they can build solutions that can perform well and that can scale up. And in the context of all these developments, automated machine learning is the go-to solution. So that's why we have created the course around automated machine learning and AI. Now, some of the other aspects of the courses that I'll like to show you. So we are finally in the course section, and I will access the joint AI and quantum computing course. Now, as Sachin has already explained, that we start with the prerequisites for the mathematical foundations, what we need to learn AI and machine learning. We also give pointers to refresh your programming skills, because programming is a very important part where you can actually implement the algorithm and also incorporate into one of your problems. So this is how the courses have been structured. Firstly, we have prerequisites for AI, which covers probability statistics, linear algebra, calculus, and optimization. Then we have certain set of basic topics for machine learning that includes the development of system model for machine learning for supervised and unsupervised learning. Then certain elementary algorithms such as linear and multiple linear regression, performance metrics such as F1 score, precision, recall, that are useful in determining the performance of our algorithms, and then certain training techniques such as regularization. We then move to some elementary classification models such as KNN and logistic regression. Then we have details about support vector machine, decision trees, bagging, boosting, and ensemble algorithms. So some of you might not be familiar with this technique, which is bagging, boosting, and ensemble. So the key idea here is we have a number of, let's say we are trying to solve a classification problem, and there are a number of weak models that are not so performant on the data that we have, but a combination of all such models comes out as a very strong candidate that performs really well. So this is the set of we also cover the set of certain advanced techniques in the basic module for machine learning. Then we have dimensionality reductions techniques such as principal component analysis, and finally an example of unsupervised technique such as k-means clustering. Let me show you some of the modules here. Let's say we select some topic from calculus and optimization. So the courses are delivered in such a way such that we have a video tutorial which are very carefully curated into sets of short tutorials that are attacking right at the core of the topic and curated in proper sequence. So we have for, let's say, this gradient descent for local minimum, we have details about whatever the instructor is teaching. We can see the video, and if you are already able to see, these are very carefully and strategically curated with very good knowledge embedded into the curriculum. So we have taken great care to construct a course that actually adds value into the ecosystem of already existing solutions and courses for machine learning, where we provide proper mathematical ideas, great depths of visualizations, plenty of examples, and also how to proceed from there into actual systems, actual machine learning, real world systems. So this is one of the examples of videos, and there are certain elementary things such as we can download those slides and we can accelerate the courses. So coming back to the distribution of topics, then we have details about deep learning, which includes some very basic introduction to neural networks, the details about activation functions, why we need them, and the intuition about what kinds of nonlinearities they generate. Some brief background about the backpropagation algorithm, which is used to train a network. Then some of the practical aspects that are very much necessary when it comes to real world system, when we are training deep neural networks into large data sets or skewed data sets or imbalanced data sets and so on and so forth. So one of the very key factors is how we initialize the weights of our network, or what kind of normalization technique we use. How are we actually optimizing the training of our network? So we actually expand upon all these practical issues as well. We cover various architectures, some of the standard architectures such as CNNs for image data and grid structured data, and recurrent networks such as vanilla recurrent networks or long short term memory networks for sequence data. Autoencoders for applications such as dimensionality reduction and so on and so forth. And I would also like to point out that we are not only stopping at this is a very application oriented and also somewhat research oriented course that we have structured. So let's say if we are talking about long short term memory networks, we are not only stopping here about explaining the details of the architecture, but we are also discussing what are some of the key applications here, some case studies, and also what are the next steps into this field, such as newer models such as transformers, reformers, and performers are into play. So, how we can start from the basics of LSTMs and then also learn about more advanced topics such as transformers. That is also covered in these courses. Then we have some of the basics of reinforcement learning, such as this multi-arm bandits, Markov decision processes, dynamic programming, Monte Carlo methods, and we are mostly here discussing the mathematics as well as the algorithms. As we then move on to the AI expert course, which includes some of the more matured and more evolved topics, more advanced and more complex topics as well. So these are some of the special topics in machine learning, including newer techniques for dimensionality reduction, such as kernel PCA, t-SNE, and spectral clustering. Some practical issues related to exploratory data analysis, which is the most important and the first part that we are actually get into while we are solving a machine learning problem in practical terms. Then we have some, again, expanding on the practical aspects, uh, lectures about feature engineering, hyperparameter tuning, and model selection. Coming on to now advanced topics, there are semantic segmentation, object detection, with both have applications in self-driving cars, which we discuss in detail. Some much more advanced architectures such as generative adversarial networks, and variational autoencoders, and a bit of more advanced topics in reinforcement learning and Bayesian methods. The last part comes about the practical hands-on session. Now, this is also very carefully structured. After the prerequisites of Python and the different libraries that are prevalent in using machine learning, we actually get down to the depths of how we can implement a model, how we can handle data sets, how we can convert these lines of codes into working solutions. We provide notebooks for exercises as well, where you can actually try out implementing the algorithms and see for yourself what you have learned. Are you able to solve the problem? And if you are able to solve the problem, what is the quality of algorithm that you have developed? So these are details about the practical hands-on session, which then carve out into some for much larger problems. They carve out into projects. So this was all about AI. Now, what's the journey after certification? Let's say that you are a very vigilant and a very hardworking student, and you study the for the certification exam. You pass the exam with excellence. What lies next? So one of the first thing that is into the next steps is that you will get access to our AutoML and MLOps platform, which is Cupa AI Pro. You will get access to the platform, the algorithms, the datasets, where you can actually try building your own models. Then there is this whole thing about QPy AI marketplace. Now, what is this marketplace? This marketplace is actually a sort of uh, interaction point between you and some of the largest companies that seek out solutions in the field of machine learning and AI. So here you can actually build up your models and then monetize those models such that when those models are sold and used by a certain enterprise, that generates monetization value for you. Also, you can act as sellers for these different solutions themselves, where the enterprises are actually they come up with their problems and you solve the problem for them. So it's a large aggregated pool of talent where you can present yourself, present your solutions, and directly interact with and deal with some of the largest enterprises that seek such AI solutions. And finally, this all of this connects to CubePy Cloud collaborative platforms where such intellectual properties and such data sets and models can be actively shared and integrated into different products. So this is the journey after certification. Firstly, you learn the field itself, you excel in the field, you build up solutions, and then you can monetize those solutions. So this is the journey after certification. So that's about it for the AI part, and we would be happy to take up questions. As a last, one of the last steps, I would very quickly like to give a brief idea about quantum computing as well, and show how we can also build quantum models in the Explorer tool itself. So quantum computing is, if you are following up with technology developments, you must be already be knowing that it's uh, one of the most sought after technologies for this decade, for the last and for the last decade as well, and now for this decade, where we have quantum computers in actual world that are supported via cloud services. We can actually build quantum programs and use them to solve problems across very diverse fields such as simulation, machine learning, and optimization at the earliest, and then across communication and computation as well. And some of the few key applications for this field are, let's say, drug discovery, uh, modeling of financial data, are creating machine learning algorithms that can actually leverage the computational advantage of quantum computers. Then we have simulation of biological and physical systems and chemical systems such as molecules and atoms. We have a whole new area of quantum communication where we can build a quantum internet, where which is which has very strong applications in cybersecurity, because those kinds of protocols actually make the network itself tamper proof. So I would start with a very basic understanding of what quantum computing is. So as we operate on data in all of the computations, which are composed out of bits as the fundamental unit of information. But for quantum computers, we get into some much more larger space of computations where we have qubits, and these qubits exist in linear superposition of basis states, which are 0 and 1 in the classical sense. And because of this representation in the form of a linear combination, it has access to much more volume of information, or an exponential greater capacity of representation of information, which can then be used to perform computations. And all of this advantage that is brought about is actually a manifestation of three physical phenomena. Firstly, quantum superposition, which gives an intrinsic parallelism to computations. Then we have quantum entanglement, which enables us to access strong correlations between pieces of information in quantum systems that are not possible classically. And finally, interference, where we actually have the capability to interfere quantum states. And with this, we can develop very clever algorithms, because the results that are not desired for our computation can be destructively interfered, and the results that are desired can be constructively interfered. So these are the three key ingredients that actually provide this power to quantum computers. And I would very briefly, I would show uh, some of the, let's say this is a quantum circuit, and computations in quantum computing are actually performed in terms of circuits. Ultimately, it's circuit in classical computing as well. You must be aware of simple Boolean logic gates and circuits constructed out of these Boolean gates. Similarly, we have logic gates in quantum computing, and quantum programs are represented as circuits. So here you see there are three qubits in this entire system. We can apply gates to different qubits. So I am applying. These are the gates. These wire represent the state of a qubit. And this is a very simple demonstration of what we can achieve. So I'm just about to simulate a quantum circuit on my local machine using the Explorer tool. So now in the on my local machine itself, this computation is running, which will apply two logic gates to these qubits. And here you see this is an interactive visualization. This is what we call a block sphere. This represents the state of a quantum bit. So here you see, as I said, there is exponentially greater representation capacity for information. So every point on this sphere is actually representing some information. In classical world, we only have these 2 points, 0 and 1. So we have a very limited representation of information, but every point on this sphere is actually representing a quantum state that can be parameterized with these alpha and beta parameters that are complex numbers. So here you see the block sphere, which is, and it's interactive, so I can actually try to experiment with it. Here we are seeing the probability distribution corresponding to the computations that we have created, and this is a correlation tetrahedron. So I told you that one of the key utilities or the key advantages of quantum computing is that we can access stronger correlations. And here we can visualize these correlations in the form of these tetrahedrons. So this was a very brief overview of quantum computing as well. And this is the description of the forum. So finally, this brings me to the conclusive part where we discussed about the course structure. We also discussed about how we are delivering the course using CuPy AI Explorer, how we are segmenting different topics, how we give you the ability to actually simulate or develop AI models within the tool. Within the tool, we showed you some aspects about AutoML. For actual implementation, we also provide you notebooks. And then I had, after discussing the distribution of the topics and the different utilities within the topics, finally I showed you about how we can simulate a quantum circuit within this tool. And now I would request Sumant to proceed with the descriptions about the courses that follow from this slide.
Thank you. Thanks, Lakshya. So before going forward with, I'd like to take certain questions and answers as well, which has come. So I think Sachin and Lakshya can help me with the same. I'd like to take any questions anyone want to add, you can add it in the Q&A section at the bottom. So I'll start with a question from Avinash Kumar. So he has asked, being a mechanical engineer, can I learn AI ML as CS folks? Further, will I be able to apply this knowledge in mechanical and get decent pay scale? So this is a question. So Lakshya or Sachin, you can pitch in.
So maybe Sumant, I'll answer this and then Sachin can add on to what I say.
Please, yes.
So I definitely, Avinash, you can, as a mechanical engineer, you can learn AI and ML. For the prerequisites part, we already provide all the, and since being a mechanical engineer, you already have a strong foothold on mathematics. Programming ML systems is not tough, not really tough. We'll provide you with all the prerequisites in the form of Python programming. And once you are able to pick up from these programming skills, and once you go through the courses and learn different algorithms, you will, for yourself, you will see how you can map those algorithms to problems in your domain. For example, let's say if you are working on automotives, so you can see there are crash simulations that make a lot of use of AI modeling techniques. Or if you are working on the applications of self-driving cars, then you can uh, use AI to actually perform scene understanding, or for the stress testing of your vehicle. Let's say you are working as in the field of fluid mechanics and modeling how fluids flow. So even there we have very important applications of machine learning techniques, because there the linear algebra directly connects to the algorithms that we have in AI. So definitely you can, and you should definitely try picking up the basics, going through the course, trying to learn the algorithms, and then you would be able to see how you can apply those algorithms to your own problems. So Sachin, if you would like to add.
Yeah, I concur with Lakshya here. I certainly agree that you will learn a lot even when you go through the prerequisites. And a lot of those prerequisites will help you relate solving some of the niche problems that you might be working on as part of mechanical to engineering, because you have a strong understanding of domain, right? And based on that strong understanding of domains, you could perhaps design better performant AI systems, right? Because you understand the overall architecture and the internal workings of different components, and wherever you can improve the decision making at certain places with the help of data, right, that is where you can apply AI based algorithms, right? So that will be certainly a win-win situation, and the good thing is that we are taking care of the prerequisites. So I understand that spending 3 years in a particular industry, and you might have lost touch a little bit with your mathematics, right? So that will be refreshed as part of this course early on. So certainly you will be in a good position to take to leverage AI in your day-to-day problems.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks, Lakshya. So Avinash, I think the answer was good enough for you. So I'm taking another question from Patel. So he asked, I was working as an industrial automation engineer for past 3 years and currently working in the same field, but now I want to upgrade to AI or cloud controlling. So could you please give me your suggestion that what should I do first?
Okay, so I am not very clear about cloud controlling. If it means cloud computing, then certainly AI and cloud computing are related. Uh, at a very broad level, cloud computing is more like hosting an application on cloud, which is like the application is sitting on a data center, and you're ensuring that the application runs smoothly. And say if there is a large demand, you are able to scale up the servers so that your service could be so that your request could be serviced well in time. Of course, AI and cloud has a very close intersection, and that is why as part of our own conglomerate, QPI Technologies, we have QPI AI and there is QPI Cloud. So, as part of artificial intelligence, I can certainly see you that this course could be a stepping stone in your transition into AI. And the good thing is that you already have a job and you already understand a certain domain well. So you can even look for some interesting use cases within your domain and solve it first, right? And then you can move on to with the kind of experience that you gain by solving these problems, leveraging AI. You can move on to other fields also, given that you have enough curiosity and you pursue this course very well.
Thank you, Sachin. So I have another question from Hardik Anand. He asks, what is the main link which connects AI and ML?
Okay, so the main link actually is mathematics. So AI has become a more like a broad term which encompasses machine learning, data science in general, deep learning, and reinforcement learning. So machine learning typically was thought to comprise of those classical statistical techniques like your linear regression, logistic regression, decision trees, support vector machines, right? All of these which typically does not involve neural networks. Neural networks which is based on brain-inspired neurons, right? And with the advent of deep learning that happened around the year 2012 with the paper of Alex Rechevsky, where they created a network named AlexNet, right? That led to the birth of deep learning because they realized that they could leverage these very strong these GPU machines, which had very strong compute power with humongous quantities of data to prepare to generate very good image classification algorithms. Right? So that is where deep learning got its start, and then it went on. And then the third part is, of course, reinforcement learning. So machine learning typically comprises of non-deep learning, non-reinforcement learning classical techniques, whereas AI is like an umbrella term which comprises of all of these, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, and a host of other techniques.
I would like to add to Sachin's answer that see, AI is a general term or an umbrella term that covers systems that are adaptive and automated. Okay, so systems that can be automated or that can support automation, and systems that can be made to be adaptable with their environment. These are the generally encompass everything that is within AI, and machine learning is a subset of those techniques which are used to develop such automated and adaptive systems. So that's also a brief addition to what Sachin already has cleared it.
Thank you, Sachin. Thanks, Lakshya. So I think we have answered most of the questions, and we are also running out of time. So the unanswered questions will be replied back to you via mail. And I see several questions regard to the courses and about the fee. So I'll just take over and I'll explain you about that in detail now. So you can see we have 6 different courses as Lakshya had explained earlier. So we have AI Foundation, AI Expert, and we also have Quantum Foundation and Quantum Expert. So apart from this, we have AI Pro, which covers everything in AI Expert along with practical hands-on trial of CuPy AI Pro, our AI ML platform. Apart from that, we also have joint AI and quantum expert course, which comprises of both AI expert and quantum expert. So these are the different lineup of courses. And because of the new year, we have introduced a new offer, which is going on, which is you get 50% off in all of our courses except for AI Pro. And this offer is valid till midnight of the new year, which will end by end of 1st January 2022. So you will be getting a link by the end of this session. You can log in and you can use the coupon code QPI New Year. So once you type this, you will be able to avail the courses at this price. And apart from this, we also have another pricing structure in which you can start the course at just $499 and pay it in installments of $499 going forward. And with the first $499, you get 6 hours of content, followed by that for every module you buy, you will get additional content going on. So you can either choose paying it in one go and you get a better discount, or you get the flexibility of paying it in parts. So you can choose between this, and you will be able to know more about this in detail by visiting our panel. So this is the coupon code, which I'm repeating, which is QPI New Year. And if you got any queries or any doubts regarding this, you can contact us at certification@qpiai.tech, or you can dial into the number which is mentioned there, or you can even drop a WhatsApp text. So thanks a lot for everyone who had showed up, and we had taken a little longer than we had promised, but I think the session was really engaging and the questions were also very relevant. So we are looking forward to host you all in our courses and in CuPy Explorer. And I believe we can together build a great community for AI ML as well as quantum going forward. Thank you all.